Rashford to Newcastle, maybe Lewis Hall the same way. I'm not going to say swap deal, but you never know. Someone might say swap deal on YouTube at some point today. But Marcus Rashford being linked to Newcastle United. We're also seeing Somerville talks where potentially a deal agreed with the player on a contract. But again, that a lot of work to do regarding getting maybe a price from West Ham is going to be a stumbling block. And maybe the Somerville deal with the Fernandes deal might be an ongoing negotiation with a potential double deal there. We'll have to see if that works out. Also, Manchester United linked to Baturina, who's also linked to Aston Villa. Como did refuse a €50 million bid. I can't remember who it was from, but that's another story we're going to look at as well. And we're going to start off with, if you watched the World Cup last night, then we've seen Mbappe score 2 goals. We've seen Haaland score 2 goals. We've seen Messi score 3 goals. And Harry Kane didn't disappoint last night. Okay, took 2 goals for the 2 goes for the penalty, but great header and very good win, like 4-2. Very impressive win from England. So if you're watching this, any thoughts you got on anything we're talking about, please let me know. Get anything in the comments. Again, as you know, this channel it is pretty much open for any discussion as well. I'm just kind of setting a few topics to start with. But this was a very impressive win. And to be honest, I said this morning on my TikTok account that as soon as England do anything in the World Cup, we're just going to see stories about these players. So we're already seeing quite a lot of stories about Marcus Rashford. We're seeing stories about Elliot Anderson as well, which doesn't really involve Man United at the moment. But we're seeing quite a few things put out about England players. And I'll just say this, like, forget the hype. This was just a good performance that England did very well. Croatia are not rubbish opposition. I thought Croatia, the Baturina goal was a fantastic strike. But I thought England, like, I've not seen England just like batter a team like that for the second half for a long time. And we could have scored more goals. I think a bit of credit to the Croatian goalkeeper keeping the score down, I'd say, in that game. So this was a good performance from England. And there's no doubt that people are looking at individual players. Like even like I think Madueke did well. I think with Gordon, like Gordon looks like the sort of player you start a match with. He's going to be doing all the running. He's like the opposite of Marcus Rashford, isn't he, in a way? So when I look at Gordon, I'm not going to take anything away from his work ethic. He ran all the time he was on the pitch. He tracks back. He causes problems for the opposition, but he's not really a clinical finisher. Marcus Rashford, he doesn't tend to track back. He doesn't tend to be doing the defensive work, but he is more clinical as a forward player. And I think that's the difference between those two players. That whatever it is, Barcelona want to pay for Gordon. I think fair play to Newcastle. You got a great price. But I'll just go through a few comments before we go into jump into Man United news. What do people think as well? So England's defence not that great. Yeah, England's defence. I'd say was England's defence poor or was it going to be? I'd say the first goal was a very good finish. That's just a really good finish as well. So I think it's a. I think it's a. I'm not going to say too much about England's defence for the second goal. I mean, we've seen in this World Cup actually take shots from distance. Lots of them have been flying into the top corner. So no, it was a really entertaining match. I think even for the neutrals, say Croatia's not a good team. Well, I say there's a lot of teams in the World Cup that don't look amazing, but they're playing quite well. So England's defence was terrible. I don't know. I would say how many shots on goal did Croatia get? That England's defence looked a bit vulnerable, but I think in the second half England looked like very controlled. So maybe I'm not going to say about. I'm trying to avoid saying Maguire. Maybe Maguire should be in the team, but no. This is like the first match, a bit cagey. I think Croatia scored 2 very good goals, but overall in the match, I think England were a lot better. Say England, yeah. I mean, it's the first stage in a long competition, isn't it? So again, Spain looked terrible. Portugal looked average. England looked pretty good against a decent team. So I'm just going to leave it there and say we'll see what happens in the World Cup. Long way to go, but again, things to work on as well. England have got some really good attacking players, and they're going to be a dangerous team for a lot of teams to go against. Um, Say Croatia pushed us. To be honest, I think in the first half was 50-50 for me. The second half it was very much England all the way. England, like to be honest, I think England look a bit like maybe it's a bit like Portugal. I think the England squad has obviously got some new faces in it. Croatia got the same old faces we've seen for a long time. So yeah, I'm not really surprised. To be honest, I think like France looked fantastic as well, and maybe in the same sort of situation that France and England both looked a lot better. So we'll see. The World Cup isn't won on the first game, but I think that you just got to get through your group stage as well. So we'll have to see who got that one. I mean, say who did Germany play against? I don't think we've seen. To be honest, a lot of the group stages, I think we're not going to see too much until we see these good teams play against each other. So Portugal, I think Portugal need to change things a lot, don't they? So again, I don't know. Portugal for me were like a dark horse, but Portugal, I don't know. They need to improve a lot, don't they? So it's just the group stage, and it's one where uh, what can England do? England are going to play against a group they're expected to qualify from. I think France looked a bit ropey for like 45 minutes. I I would say Portugal looked quite poor overall. I don't know. Um, so can we or admit? Good to see you in the chat, Grace. Good to see you. Now, for me, I've said this all along that you have to pick the players to get the best possible performance out of the team. I think Portugal, but I didn't watch much of the Portugal match, but it looks like they're maybe adjusting their tactics too much to accommodate Cristiano Ronaldo. It could be a mistake. If that happens, it could be a mistake. But no, we'll go through some of the comments as well. I just thought I would just talk about the World Cup a little bit. Say why are England so arrogant? Says Malps. Are they arrogant? I don't. I think the media tends to be pushing a little bit too much information out there as well. Has Tuchel made England any different from Southgate? Says I don't know. I don't know. What's wrong with what we saw last night? Like, I think England, like, if you look at England under Southgate, it was very defensive minded. There was a lot of close games, low scoring matches. I just think it was a great win. Like, I just watched England win comfortably last night. I know people will say that it's an aging Croatian team, but Modric got benched early on because he just wasn't getting a kick in that game. And that's something that Modric has controlled matches throughout his career. I know he's older, but look at Lionel Messi. Lionel Messi was having a great time with Argentina. And if you're looking at it, like we had France versus Senegal, England versus Croatia. I mean, no one's saying that Croatia is as good as France, but yeah, England weren't playing against minnows, were they? So we have to just take it and say it was a good win. I think it was a good win. To be honest, actually, the most impressive team so far for me has been France in the second half. I think when France turned it on, they looked incredibly good. That's for me the most probably exciting team. I think you have to give England credit though, from like 45 to like 65 minutes, they were very dominant. They scored a couple of goals. They could have got more goals, to be honest. I think the Croatian goalkeeper did actually keep them in the game. But England's like defense was a bit. I say, was it ropey early on that shot from distance from Baturina? I think it's just a great strike. The other goal was nicely crafted, but England have got things to work on. To be honest, I think you're going to grow into the tournament anyway, and I would just say for this one, England fans can enjoy the win the same way that Argentina fans, French fans, like German fans. There's a lot of decent teams in this World Cup, and to be honest, I think it's going to be quite an open competition. So I don't think there's any favourites that are going to be walking away with it. Even France were lucky to only concede one goal, and Senegal had quite a few chances. So it seems to be one of those World Cups where potentially, like lots of shots from distance are going in, and maybe this is going to be one of those World Cups where maybe we could see a few more shocks. We're seeing that. Don't be afraid to take shots from distance. I would say also the game that involved. I'm trying to think who it was. There was a game last night where it was a 3-2 match. I think it was, trying to think who it was now. Uzbekistan, the team that beat Uzbekistan, I can't remember who it was now. Was it Colombia? Their third goal, fantastic goal as well. So loads of great goals in this World Cup. As Gaz said, yeah, people find criticism about anything. That's absolutely fine. I mean, I think with this one, just enjoy the World Cup. I think the World Cup has actually been pretty decent so far. Lots of good games in my opinion. Lots of goals, and no, I think you can never tell who's going to win the World Cup from the group stage. Do you remember 4 years ago, Argentina almost got knocked out? They looked terrible in the group stage, but they won the competition. So again, it's not about peaking in the group stage, is it? So some of these teams are going to be. I think I'll say Malps. If you change the word hydration switch the word hydration to advert, and it makes sense. That there's no reason for hydration breaks in air-conditioned stadiums. It's just going to be, yeah, it's just going to be about advertising, isn't it? So it's ridiculous, isn't it? So yeah, to be honest, I think the advertising breaks are a bit ridiculous. It does mean that the game is a bit different. It's effectively a game of four quarters now, isn't it? So that they're turning it into, unfortunately, they seem to be turning it into American football. So what we're seeing is a hydration break midway through the first half. Coaches, and you can see like Tuchel doing that as well. Coaches are actually communicating some tactical suggestions to their players. So I don't think it's going to be great as well. If this is true, like Bilal saying, if they want to play through Cristiano Ronaldo, for me it's a mistake, and I just don't think it's going to be. It's just annoying, isn't it, that America's trying to put their spin on the hydration break thing. But your dark horse is Morocco. So yeah, horse was my dark horse was Norway, and I just thought if you put Haaland in any team, he's going to score goals. So I've had this for a few times. Now, I've said this as well that I think there's going to be a few dark horses in this one. Morocco could be one of them. You could also say that, like for me, I say Norway's a dark horse as well. I think there's going to be a few open matches, and to be honest, as soon as it feels a little bit like the Champions League. Like once you get through the group stage, I think we're going to have some serious games, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But the only thing about the England Croatia game, which I'd say was taken a little bit away from the occasion, was it didn't really matter what happens because even Croatia will be looking now. Ghana, Panama, you're going to win those games hopefully and get through. So I'm expecting England and I'm expecting Croatia to get through. And I did say last night I was quite confident England would win. I think England will get through the group stage. And say dark horses USA. USA is a good shout actually. That's a good shout. USA looked incredibly good actually in the first match, but it's difficult to say what's happening. Got this one. Norway dark horses. Cody. I don't know if there's going to be any watch longs today, Rob. I think we might be doing a Manchester United stream tonight. I think there's like a couple of guests that might be coming on, so we might be doing a Man United based stream around sort of 8 o'clock. Now, USA look good. I think USA is an indication of like a group of players now that are playing as a team as well. So Barcelona looked like they made the wrong choice after yesterday. Did anyone hear Gordon's name in the first half? I saw Gordon like running a one-man press. Like I did see this one and think at some point does the rest of the team need to tell Gordon that we're not pressing at the moment, but Gordon was like pressing the whole back line. But no, I think Gordon feels like he's there to run around loads and then wear some of the defenders out, and then you look at it and think that maybe Marcus Rashford comes on as like as a closer as well. So perhaps more teams is a good thing. I think I would say with this one that Norway have got a really good team. I will for people that tuned in for Man United news. We will go into Man United news in a second. But no, Haaland. I think Haaland at the World Cup is a good thing. I've said this for quite a long time on social media that for me, Haaland's the best striker in world football, isn't he? Like he's one of the best strikers we've seen in the Premier League of all time. If you look at his goal scoring record, it's nothing short of ridiculous. I think Haaland scores like 25 goals in the Premier League, and people call it a quiet year. I'm not sure, how many goals did Haaland get this season? Because people talk like about Haaland as if he's had a poor year, and if you look at his goal scoring record, it's still phenomenal. I'm not surprised that he drifts through games where people say, "What's he going to do?" I knew he was going to score goals, and I said that he's a shout for a top goal scorer, depending on like if Norway get through the group stage, which I think they should do, and they look like they're going to be a serious team. If they can dodge some of the big teams, I think Norway could surprise people. They've got the firepower, and I think in World Cup competitions, like that's what you need. We've seen like Messi can do it. We've seen Haaland do it. I think some of these games we're seeing shots from distance fly into the top corner. I think Haaland's such a massive problem that it wouldn't matter which team he's playing for. I think he would get goals and he'd cause problems. So I think say dark horse. I think the Norway side qualifies generally as well. I don't think this is going to be a situation where if you look at it and say, right, yeah, we've expanded the World Cup competition. I think this is just a generation of Norway players that are just really good. So it's the same way as we used to watch, say, Romania, Bulgaria. They both had good teams in the 90s. and they had some quite famous wins in the World Cup and were very good teams like Haji, Stoichkov, etc. And I think now we're seeing like it's Norway's turn. Like Norway have got some really good players. It's not like Haaland's carrying the team. They've got good players across the pitch. So they look like a serious team as well. So in the adverts, I didn't think they were meant to be coaching after it was just rehydration, and I got that wrong. So Andy, I think it's because like the players go to the side of the pitch. It's literally like, and the players, the players are just going to be taking advantage. Like, if it's professional sport, you take advantage of anything you can do, can't you? So if there's a hydration break, all the players come to the side of the pitch. You could see that Tuchel was definitely. You got a couple of minutes there. You can pass on some information to one or two key players, and it's something that's the more astute teams are going to look at this and realise that if you're seeing this as well, there's been quite a few goals like shortly after hydration breaks, and it does change the game a little bit because you don't have 45 minutes. You effectively have like three team talks now. You have one for each hydration break, and you have one at half time. It's something that you've got to look at as well. So England are going to be. They were on that last night, and a few other people say, is it going to be this one? Like, say, is it going to be this? I was talking to my daughter yesterday and saying we might have to buy one of these footballs. They do look pretty cool. So the new aerodynamic World Cup ball is fantastic. Love it. Obviously, I don't think I'm going to be bending it into the top corner from 40 yards, and I don't think I'm going to be able to hit from distance like Mbappe. But I might have to get one because it does look pretty good. I did look on the Adidas website, and they have about five different versions. I'm definitely not paying 130 quid for one, but I might get one of the cheaper ones. It does look like a decent football, doesn't it? Hmm. So let's have a look at this one as well. So they should have someone run the water onto the pitch to stop all that with managers. I suppose with this one, it's yeah, exactly. I saw the 130 quid football. I was like, yeah, I don't think it's going to make much difference. But this is one where they have it's the same every single World Cup. There's going to be footballs priced between about £25 and £130. So there's ones that are like 25, 35, 45, 50, 130. Like no one's paying 130 for a football, but 25, £35. Yeah, that's that's achievable. Um, Now looking at this, so Portugal and Huddle, it's going to be the same rules for everybody, isn't it? So either they need to stop the hydration breaks when they don't need it, or they just have the hydration breaks on the. Let's be honest, everybody knows the hydration breaks are there for advertising reasons. It's not for it's not for it's obviously not for hydration purposes when you're in an air conditioned stadium, but it's the same for every single football team, isn't it? So it's the same for everyone. You just have to look at it and go, right, let's just get let's just make sure we um, take advantage of it. I mean, other teams are doing this as well. So unless they're going to change it to say no one can do any sort of tactics chat during the match, it does change the game, though, doesn't it? Because you sometimes see games where if a team's struggling on like sort of 25, 30 minutes, they do have to kind of get through to like the halftime to get the team talk. Whereas now what we're seeing is, for me, it changes the game a little bit as well. It does mean that you can try something for 20 minutes. If it doesn't work out, you can then readdress. You have your tactics break, your water break, whatever you want to call it, advert break at 22 minutes, and then you can change things from then. So, every single team's going to be looking at that as well. And it's going to be, until they change it, they're just going to stay that. But to be honest, they should be able to shout instructions during the game anyway and have a couple of obvious go-to tactics as well. I don't know actually. I just saw the highlights of that one, so I didn't watch that game. I know it's obviously like pretty one-sided match, but I don't know this one. I think one of the things I would say positive about the World Cup, I guess no one watching this channel is going to be neutral. Everyone's going to have teams they support or teams they favour. But one of the good things is that this is one World Cup where first kind of game, all the big players seem to have stepped up. Like Mbappe steps up, gets a couple of goals. Messi proves he still can do it at this level. If there was ever any doubt in that one, I mean, he's obviously going to be a world class player until he retires. And you have a look at, say, Haaland putting Norway on the map, two great goals. And I thought Haaland's always going to be a massive problem as well. And Harry Kane as well. People were saying, will Harry Kane do it? And like, let's be honest, Harry Kane does get a decent amount of goals from the spot. So fair play to Harry Kane, two goals, really good header actually. And are people going to be critical about set pieces as they were for Arsenal? Because when we see a situation where it benefits for England, I think we have seen also, we're not seeing the pushing and holding so much in corners, and Harry Kane still was free, still got a great finish as well. So we're going to move on to a couple of stories. So I did say apologies if it's a lot of World Cup chat, but there's a lot of things to discuss as well. Maybe we should just do a stream where we do like a World Cup conversation at some point. But there's going to be a few things being said about Marcus Rashford after that game. One of the things that this is going to be an option is what will be the best option? Like reintegrating Rashford, which I don't think Ineos want to see happen anyway, or signing Somerville, who, according to a couple of sources, according to like something I saw, I think it's like a few hours ago this morning, they said that Manchester United had talks with Somerville. They've offered a contract, like a 5-year contract, I think, till 2031, with a 1-year option also. The standard sort of 5+1 contract. It does seem to be that maybe there's a bit more in this than I thought. I'm still thinking that I can't really see Man United spending that much money on Somerville, but I don't know. In terms of like Somerville or Rafael Leao, I'd be a bit more in favour of Somerville, but I can see why that again. This is kind of an indication of what's going to happen in the World Cup. We got Rio Ferdinand. I think Rio Ferdinand's going to be generally positive towards England players anyway, and I'm guessing that he's got a good relationship with Rashford anyway, so he's going to put out something positive. But he's saying that Manchester United might have to consider keeping Marcus Rashford. I'm going to say this to start with. I don't think Manchester United are going to keep Marcus Rashford because they moved past him. It seems like a backward step, and I think Ineos have got a clear mind, a clear idea of what they're going to do. I don't see Rashford staying, so I don't want to say too much negative stuff about football players, etc., or make it too toxic. I just want to say I think Ineos have moved past Rashford, and I don't think they see Marcus Rashford as a future. That's why I think that Somerville might be one where, yeah, maybe that's going to be something we see. Maybe we are going to be doing that as well. Big up to you, Bilal. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Thank you so much for the gifted membership. Really appreciate that. And big up to Kazi, who's got the gifted membership as well. Cheers for that, Bilal. Always appreciated. So I was going to put up a story quickly. So in terms of Marcus Rashford, that I saw this, and what are people? What's your initial reaction? Like we're gonna see this a lot. So for me, I'd rather focus on deals that take Man United forward. But you have to look at it and say, part of Man United moving forward is about moving players on, and this is kind of where this is talked about as well. And say you also want Rashford out not because of his playing ability, just to save money for the Glazer Masters. So the annoying thing is that I think Tyrone might have a point here, and that this might be that is this about remember when Rashford got moved on? So remember when Marcus Rashford was frozen out of the team and moved on from Man United. At the time, he was the top goal scorer at the time. So there's a few more factors that are being talked about regarding this again. So I was going to say I don't want to say too many negative things about the player because at the moment Marcus Rashford for me is a better football player than Gordon. I know people will say Gordon tracks back, Gordon presses, Gordon runs, but Gordon doesn't score many goals. And if you want to play in a 4-2-3-1 or you want to play a 4-3-3, I can see pressing is important, but you've got to have some goal threat. I do think also as well that Man United made a mistake. We shouldn't have given Marcus Rashford the level of contract he's got, but he's on too much money. And for me, Marcus Rashford, we saw for England Marcus Rashford's best position. Like Marcus Rashford's best position is probably an impact substitution and coming on against tired legs. He's just clinical, isn't he? For me, he offers what Ahmad Jallow does off the bench, where he can run up defenders, he can cause problems, but he's more clinical. So I think for Man United, like we can't be paying 300k for a player that probably shouldn't start a lot of games. Like I do think that he obviously has got a role in terms of if he's wherever he's playing, he will start some games, come off the bench. But for me, I think Ineos made a mistake giving him. Actually, no, it's probably Glazers made a mistake giving him the massive pay rise because I think Marcus Rashford could have had a role at Man United as a bench option. Like again, we saw last night, he's quite a clinical finisher. But maybe with this one, the question is going to be where will Marcus Rashford go? That are Newcastle genuinely interested? Because I think Newcastle, they struggle to pay massive salaries. That's why a lot of players are leaving them. Bayern Munich are linked. Again, I said I have got a poll running so people can kind of guess what people are going to be saying. Say if Rashford ever came back, I think Carrick would want to start him. You could say that if he did come back, then I don't know. Honestly, I don't know, Tyrone. Would he definitely start? That he definitely carries some threat. But I would say that, I don't know. I think from a Man United perspective, it depends on the game, doesn't it? If we're facing a low block, then I don't see, against the low block, Marcus Rashford's not going to be as effective as he. So is Marcus Rashford only effective if we're playing on the counter attack? Like I do agree with Tyrone that we kind of need to be wary, I suppose, that if Marcus Rashford starts matches, then teams are worried about his pace and they do adapt to it. So he's a perfect player to come on if Man United are winning. So if you saw the game last night, when Manchester United, when England were winning the game and the game opens up a little bit, Marcus Rashford's the perfect player to bring on in that circumstance because he's going to get lots of space. He can finish. He's going to be quick. So I think that different players are suitable for different situations, aren't they? As well. Giannis says Rashford is almost impossible to remove on a sale. There's a bigger chance he plays for United than leaves the club. So this is why I said. I think I said this on TikTok that Manchester United, Marcus Rashford. That I tend to prefer to talk about stories about players coming in. So in terms of stories, I'll just put this up quickly for I think the benefit of Danny B and maybe other people that mentioned it. But this is a story that's coming up pretty much 99% because Man United attached to the name, but also because he played for Croatia, scored last night. Apparently, Man United are interested. Villa are interested. He won't be a cheap option though. They've already turned down 50 million euros, so he's going to cost maybe like 60 million pound plus anyway. So this is not going to be a cheap option. So some of the players that we think are cheap options, they're probably not going to be cheap options. Like, they're probably going to see the price pushed up again. The only thing I can think of regarding this story is I did say I didn't think that Newcastle can afford his transfer fee. I just don't think Newcastle would be looking at close to Marcus Rashford's salary. So for me, the most likely one, if we're looking at the teams that, in terms of what they do, I can't see a better option than maybe someone like Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich pay big salaries to their star players. They play in a league where it's going to be easier to score goals. I don't know. I just think that if I was going to guess, I'd guess Bayern Munich or Manchester United. I can't see another Premier League team picking up his sort of salary. Manchester United are not going to be letting Marcus Rashford go to Arsenal or Liverpool, as far as I can see. It might be that it costs a lot more. So Diamonde, I'll say this about Diamonde. I got accused of being a bit too optimistic or a bit too positive about Diamonde because I know effectively with Diamonde it's his breakout season, isn't it? So it's very with Diamonde. Lots of people, whenever I've talked about Diamonde and I've talked about who's the other guy, Buwadi. Like for me, Diamonde and Buwadi represent the future best players you can sign. So you've got Diamonde, who's 19 years old. You've got Buwadi, who's 18 years old. So for me, that's the next generation of quality. If you want to get the best players, then at the moment you have to get them younger because otherwise, like no one's going to be buying Mbappe, are they? No one's going to be buying Harry Kane now. So you have to get the next generation. I think one of the things I'd say about Buwadi is that if you watch the Morocco Brazil game, I literally don't have to say anything more. Like we saw the game, you look at that and go, right, that's next generation. If you're looking at Diamonde compared with Rashford, like for me, Diamonde is levels. His levels more exciting than Rafael Leao. His levels more exciting than players like Somerville. He is only 19. He's already created the most chances in the World Cup by any football player. So he's got. I think the first match he played, he created 5 chances. And this is going to be, we're talking about someone that's walking. I think when people look at the World Cup has expanded. There's more teams in it, but a lot of teams we expect to turn up and get thrashed are actually putting up a really good fight. So Cape Verde, you saw, I think, Congo, and you see some of these teams that Uzbekistan as well as another option. These teams turn up, and even like Panama, they're not different. They're not easy to play against. They're not conceding loads and loads of chances. They're actually causing a lot of problems. And I think Diamonde as well. If you look at players that go to the World Cup as teenagers and they look really good. They like Diamonde doesn't look out of place, does he? He looks like he belongs there. He's playing at a high level, and I think the same with Boadi. You put him in the World Cup. He's playing against Brazil. He's just playing like one of the better players in the tournament. So I think if you can do that at age 18, 19, then for me, you can cope with the pressure at Man United. So I think they're going to be. I think this is Manchester United's best option. If we're going to spend big, then go for people like Diamonde, go for people like Boadi. I mean, I don't mind Matheus Fernandes. I think he's a very good football player as well. But I think this is kind of where the deals are. So for me, I know there's a lot of streams this morning saying that I think Man City want Tonali. I think Tonali's just it sounds stupid, but I think the Tonali ship, I think that sailed when he joined Newcastle. I think Manchester United need to get these players. Don't forget also, if Man United are looking at some of these players, and like Diamonde's one we're talking about because he's had a strong start to the World Cup. If you're looking at some of these players, the salary demands are going to be relatively small, aren't they? Where the problem with Rashford has always been Rashford's salary. That once you give someone, and I think it's what, like 300k, something like that, it might be slightly more. And yeah, it's probably got worse over the last few months. Maybe Barcelona were hoping that Man United wouldn't get Champions League football, and maybe that pushes the salary down even more. I don't know. There could be reasons for that one as well. So I'll go through a few of the comments as well. And I've been like talking about Diamonde quite a lot as well. Now he's very expensive, like really expensive. But again, you don't get the best players in the world on a cheap price, do you? You have to look at it and say if you're going to spend big money, like if you're prepared to spend 125 on Elliot Anderson, why would you not spend similar sort of money on a player of similar level, similar ability, but in a different position? And so yeah, Rafa Leao for me is a player that's I don't know. He's just not been good enough the last few years, has he? So Cody says you like the Somerville signing shrewd deal. So I'll say when we talk about Somerville, I don't know. I don't feel negative towards the Somerville deal. I think it could be a decent option, and he looked good. I think that when the difficulty I've got with Somerville deal is I think the price will end up being pushed up a little bit, and I think Somerville. How old is Somerville actually compared with Diamonde? Like we know Diamonde is 19. I just think Somerville might end up costing more than we realise, and it might end up being not the greatest deal because we might have players that are just as good, if not a bit better. So, Bilal, you're saying you don't want Somerville and Wan-Bissaka. Yeah, Rafa Leao for me has just gone down a little bit. You would take Somerville all day. And say, yeah, I don't know what's happening with the Matheus Fernandes situation. Man United better come out and actually do some sort of double deal to justify why they're taking so long. Sancho looks good in Germany, says Andy. That's true. That's true. I think you have to look at it and say that the people making decisions are making better decisions than they did a few years ago. So no, it's. I think the difficulty is that if you look at like if you compare Sancho wasn't able to step up in the Premier League. Is Diamonde able to step up? And are Liverpool also going for a cheaper option? Like Tyrone says, Summerfield isn't a good option for Man United, but Ineos might like the idea. And you're saying cheap and cheerful. It might not be as cheap as people think, though. So it might not be that cheap. So they paid £30 million for him. If it becomes like 50 million, it's not actually that cheap, is it? If it becomes more than that, because West Ham seem to be attaching really high price tags, yeah, it's not. So Liverpool still looking to sign Diamonde. So you think they still will sign him? I was hoping that they'd got another player instead. We're not going to get him as well. And yeah, no. As soon as we get linked to players, I don't know why I was expecting something different. To be honest, I thought that maybe this season we might see deals a bit quicker, but yeah, obviously we're not going to be. So I'll try and go through as many comments as possible. If you got thoughts on anything else, yeah, please get some thoughts in. Lucky Singh saying Diamonde is overrated. I think I'll say this: like Diamonde, he's only 19, so it's a little bit early to say that he's overrated. I think he looks very good, but obviously there's not. when a player's like 18, 19, what can I say? If I think the player's a good player, then I can express my opinion. If you disagree, that's absolutely fine. But you're never going to have, if you sign an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old, you're not going to have like 4 or 5 years of his football career to look back on, are you? So you are going to have to take a bit of a punt. But yeah, if you think he's good enough, I mean, Ryan Giggs at 19 was like a top quality player. Rooney at 19 was world class already. Um, so Somerville for 50 million is too much. Good player, but West Ham are taking. Yeah, I think West Ham are taking the absolute piss. To be honest, like it's not like Somerville. Say what, but Bowen's one of the more yeah top quality players, but I think West Ham are taking the piss. West Ham have got made 100 million loss last season. They need to be realistic. They need to get some money for these players. Torrens says Somerville isn't a Champions League level player. He's not a huge upgrade on Ahmed or Mbeumo. I don't think he is an upgrade on Mbeumo, is he? That Somerville, it's early days, but I don't think he's going to be. Say we're slower. We're slower than Arsenal taking a corner, aren't we, in transfer windows at the moment? Like we're taking forever in some of these. It feels a bit like with Man United. We're linked to a player, and even like the ones that should be done deal, it feels like we got some deals that are like tap-ins. We're the only team at the negotiating table, and we still can't negotiate. I don't know. It feels like if Man United are making decisions, we're like ridiculously slow, aren't we? Again, the thing is like we've been talking about Sonali for I don't know 2 months, and Man City have been talking about him for what like 3 days or something. He probably goes there. Andy says that Somerville makes sense to you. Maybe we should do a poll about Somerville and say what whether it's a good deal. Like it's going to be about like 40 to 50 million pounds. I think I can't see it being cheaper than that one. Let's say Somerville relegated West Ham. They should be careful because Ineos will walk away from the Matheus Fernandes deal. Then to be honest, I think if Man United feel like the Matheus Fernandes deal is too expensive, then maybe we should look at. I think we should offer the same amount of money for Boadi and just like go to that deal, see what happens. I would go and get Sangare, Lee Kang in. I mean, Sangare was talked about, wasn't he? I did a stream talking about. Hold on, what did I say? I talked about Sangare maybe about 2 weeks ago because there was like slight links. I think Man United are linked. We're probably looking. Do you know what the frustrating thing is? It feels a bit like we're in the shop window. We're looking at all these options, and then gradually customers are walking past us and taking something off the shelf, and we're kind of sat there looking at it, and our options diminish as each week goes by. I think United they must know which players they want to sign. They must have like an idea of how much they want to pay. And I've said this a few times: is that I thought Fernandez would be about 65 million, something like that. And if Man United feel that deal is going to cost more than that, let's just make the offer for Fernandez. If they're not interested, maybe we should look at Sangari, look at Buwadi, and make the similar sort of offer for those players and get those players in. So I think West Ham are borderline taking the piss. We're talking about the sort of money like for Matheus Fernandez, we're playing like Cunha and we're playing like Mbeumo money, aren't we? And those players had already been like Mbeumo was like what the third or fourth highest goal scorer in the Premier League, and we saw Cunha was the same. And Matheus Fernandez is a promising player, but it just seems like West Ham are taking the piss a bit, really. DJ Dark Knight said, Rash looks really fit. Would our fans welcome him back? I, all I'll say, DJ, is based on a few of the comments, I'm going to guess no. I think the social media fans would definitely see that as a backward step, and they want to see new players signed. Yeah, there should be one, Tyrone. I'm thinking about 8 p.m. ish. There should be like an evening show. Let me know if I'm thinking of like it'll be a show with guests on. So there was someone that messaged me last night said they were free. It should be something like that as well, Tyrone. So I'm not sure if it'll be like a calling show or whether it'll just be a discussion show. It depends what news is out there, I suppose. Um, so, so Pulp says that's exactly it. You might save a few million on the fee by waiting, but it's not worth it if you have fewer options and you end up overpaying on players. And this is why I think with United, like we know which players we want, don't we? And we know how much money we've got to spend, and we know what players we want. Why don't we actually just like make an offer for Matheus Fernandes, and then if we look at that, why not then make the make the make the pivot? So I was saying like a while that if Man United say, look, we value Matheus Fernandes at 65 million. Here's 65 million. We value, I suppose, Somerville. How much is Somerville worth? Say we value him at like 45 million, for example, and go, right, it might be that they're looking at the price of like 50 million pounds as a guess. So if we say, right, we think Somerville's 45 million pounds, this is our offer. So that would be sort of 60, 100, that's actually 130 million pounds, isn't it? So you got 60, oh no, sorry, 110 million pounds. So we make those offers to West Ham and go, this is how much we value these players. These are the offers. And if West Ham aren't interested, we just move on, and it's not a problem. We just move to the different signing. I don't see why there is all this drama. Like if West Ham think they can get 70 million pounds from someone else, then good luck to them. But maybe look at the Brighton situation and look at Carlos Baleba. When teams think they can charge crazy prices, some teams are walking away, and Brighton now are going to get nowhere near that for that, are we? So yeah, it's not a problem. Let's have a look. Some of the comments. Rashford returned bad for the dressing room dynamics, says Cody. To be honest, it's really difficult to say, isn't it? That to say that it would definitely have a negative effect on the dressing room, I have literally no idea because I don't think some of these players are going to be unpopular players, are they? That clearly, if Rashford's playing with some Man United players in the England squad at the moment, isn't he? So he'll be in the same squad as Code Mainey. I don't know. I don't see it as necessary as that case. I don't think. I know people will try and push a negative. I think Ineos are going to just be figuring out what they need to do. And again, if Man United think they can be looking at what's the best way of putting it? If Man United think that they're going to be that Matheus Fernandes is the player for them, just actually buy that player. Like if you think he's going to cost 65 million, make that offer. If West Ham say like no, 70 is going to get the deal done. If you think it's worth 70, just pay 70 and move on. Because otherwise, but what you could see is, and this is kind of the worry, and I think Pop 76 was saying this as well. The worry could be if Man United go right, we think Matheus Fernandes is worth 65 million. We offer that. West Ham say no, 70 gets the deal done. Man United pivot towards a different player later in the window. The price goes up. We end up paying the same amount of money for a player we don't value as much. So I would hate to see Man United get like backup choices for the same amount of money they would have paid for Matheus Fernandes. So if we go to a different league thinking we get a cheaper option but pay more, I can just see this transfer window. I can just see these sort of things happening and messing up, and it was going to be annoying if that does happen. Say it's about supply and demand. If we overpay slightly on Fernandez, then you got two midfields and we're less desperate. Yeah, I think with this one, then this is going to be something where you look at it and go, okay, but how much is Matheus Fernandes worth? So, if, as an example, just to illustrate this point, if you think Matheus Fernandes is worth 65 million, is it better to pay 70 and just get that deal done, or should Man United go, no, we're not going to pay 65, and then Eddie Anderson gets done, and then we see Tonali go for big money, and then West Ham are like, no, we need 70, and Man United in the end up looking at backup targets that cost more and end up paying 70, but missing out on other targets. So I get the feeling that this idea of like getting a best possible price is valid for a little bit, but you have to be realistic and say the prices will probably go up during the window. That's going to be happening. Nikki says Ineos could have said that about Rashford to push him out for high wages. So yeah, I would say that I think the reason why Ineos want Rashford out is for salary based, like salary, etc. So um, yeah, I realise international football is different from club football, Cody. I'm not sure. Um, I think Pogba like is Pogba the reason why Man United didn't win trophies? Like Man United squad was never as good as City's squad, so I don't think like you can sign Pogba, but you need to sign other players as well. Man United didn't have the best squad in the league, and they came second, didn't they? Let's say the best teams. Can you remember Man United signing Rio Ferdinand? We probably slightly overpaid, and Manchester United signing so like Dwight York, we probably slightly overpaid just to get these deals done. I think Man United generally used to slightly overpay. Andy Cole was a transfer record. Roy Keane was a transfer record. So Man United used to be setting the records. You have to overpay to get good. Yes, if you want to get the best players, you have to spend big. Just a no-brainer that you can get cheaper deals and spend less. So, as Torrens says, the best teams who win trophies slightly overpay, and it's true, isn't it? But and say Man United never used to worry about this nonsense. Again, Man United's wage bill is down by about 50%, isn't it? And these restrictions seem to be like the Glazers. And the thing that's really frustrating is everybody's talking about how much money players cost, forgetting that Man City are outspending us every single window, and Man United are counting how many pennies they can save. But all this kind of cost cutting nonsense, it pales into significant. It's insignificant when you consider missing out on the Champions League cost you £90 million. Like you lose out on £90 million a year if you don't get top four. So it's stupid to try and cut corners and cut costs and try and assemble. Like it's not. No, we're not going to get a trophy for getting the cheapest squad, are we? Like there's no amazing sort of achievement getting the cheapest squad in the top four. Man United need to win trophies. Um, I think Gordon is definitely Gordon's a stat based player, isn't he, rather than an eye test player. That yeah, this is the main reason. This is the problem, isn't it? So I think the Glazers and Ineos have conditioned a lot of Man United fans to be worried about the transfer fees. Like the reason why Man United can't spend as much is because the owners just put crippling debt on the club. The Glazers could pay the debt off if they wanted to. They got money, they got other businesses, but that's the reason why we got a problem. And it's just really annoying. How much City? Yeah, City has spent outrageous amounts of money, outrageous as well. It's just really annoying, isn't it? So okay, so what we might do is, how much do you think Somerville's worth? Should we do? Is it worth doing a Somerville poll? Like, should Man United sign Somerville for? Let's put in a. Let's look at sensible price. Okay, so just put numbers in the chat. Sensible price. Yeah, that's not a bad thing. Yeah, but Man United are using debt as an excuse not to sign players. Man United are using it as a reason to try and say we can't do this. We need to. So they're cutting costs, trying to get extra money in the club. So should United? This is one where let's see, how much is Somerville actually going to cost? Like sensible, like say, how much do you think he would be accepted for him? So I want to put a price in that's like, let's say 30 million for, well, they paid 30 million pounds for Somerville, so it's going to be a bit more than that. Neil says 40 to 50. So 40 to 50. So 35 to 45 tops. I think 40 to 50 sounds about what West Ham would want. So I'll put that in there. That's just to gauge opinion. So I know a few people think he's a good deal. Some people not so keen, but that's just to have a snapshot for the next 10 minutes. We'll do that poll and let it play out, see what people think. So no, should we sign him for that? I saw a comment about Darius. Not seen Darius in the chat for ages actually, but I think he's got strong opinions, and that's fine. I think one of the things he does say is he doesn't really rate Dorgu, but I think Dorgu's improving. No, I think 40 might be the cheap end, but I think Man United would. I think West Ham would want more. So Yeah, this is true. This is definitely true. How risky is Fernandez' move to Real Madrid? I think that's what we need. So United will definitely regret not getting him. So good point actually. Is there a chance that he goes to Real Madrid? I've said I think it's unlikely, but things can change. There is like talk about maybe too many, very slim chance he might leave. And I don't know. I did read somewhere that like we've seen a few players go to Real Madrid. I did read somewhere that maybe there's going to be a there has to be an exit from Real Madrid before another player comes in. So maybe we're going to see players leave Real Madrid first and then players come in. I don't know. I think it's always going to be at the back of people's minds that it might be something that happens. I think it would be a bit frustrating from a United fan perspective based on what's been happening. We've been talking about Fernandez for so long. I think credible sites like Sully Talks was saying that he thinks that a Fernandez deal is nothing to worry about and it's going to happen. It's just a case of waiting. So I haven't seen anything saying that Real Madrid are suddenly at the table or in pole position for that one. That according to sources, the last couple of months, Manchester United are the only team talking to Matheus Fernandes, but obviously things change. And welcome to the chat, Solly. Say steady contributions in games. Which player are we talking about? Said disappears after the World Cup, relegated twice. Um, I missed the. I'm not sure which football player you're talking about, but relegated twice. Is this going to be Matheus Fernandes or is this another player? Because say people are looking into this one as well, and no, there's going to be. Would people prefer? I know we're voting on Somerville, but would people prefer Matheus Fernandes or too many if that was the option? So I think if we're looking at this situation, say Somerville's never been consistent in the Premier League. So bagged winners against Liverpool, scored against us in a win, but never serious output. Must be a tactical buy for build up or cover for Dorgu, says Solly. Based on that, then I would say based on that it's too much money, isn't it? Like, that's too much money for someone that's not even going to be in the team. So I think some of these players we're looking at, I would be preferring to if you're looking at if you're looking at buying backup players, I would say for me, Manchester United should buy a top quality player and then make it. No, for me, like, if we buy Lewis Hall, we make we essentially make Luke Shaw our bench player, don't we? And if we're looking at maybe buying, if we think Dorgu should be like buy a backup to Dorgu, I would rather Man United to buy a better quality starting player as well. Do I think it'll be a choice? I don't know. I don't think it will be necessarily a choice between that one. Because if you're looking at our budget, again, we have to guess a little bit on the budget. But if it was a choice, my question is going to be: would it, if it was a choice, would you have a preference? Like too many is obviously a bit older. I think too many would cost a lot more, like a lot more on salary, and I think it would cost a lot more on transfer fee as well. So if it was is a choice, I think Manchester United are more likely to get Matheus Fernandes. I think too many is still going to be a lot more likely to stay in Madrid. We'll have to see regarding that one. Cody says you think things are progressing behind the scenes for Fernandes, but it's not been reported. This is something that Sully has said as well. I think Sully said, just relax. Like, there's no drama here. Nothing's happening as well. And I think that I did say this probably about a month ago as well, that according to like anything we've got in Matheus Fernandes, when people ask me about Matheus Fernandes, I still think he's going to be a Man United player. I just think we're not going to hear much about it until it's a done deal. But I just get the feeling that it's just being discussed behind closed doors. And Manchester United will at some point make an announcement and go, here's Matheus Fernandes. Here we are. Here we go. I don't think we're going to see a lot of drama in that one. So it's a bit frustrating from fans. I don't know why it's taking so long because Man United have been apparently talking to West Ham for ages. The only thing I can think of is there like genuine interest in Somerville, and is that making it take longer? Like, do you remember the deal we did with Mazraoui and De Ligt, and we talked about that for quite a while at the time. And a lot of people were saying, look, we're not going to buy two players from one club. This feels like a lot more money though. Like the deals for De Ligt and Mazraoui was about 50 million. This is going to be at least double that. So if there is serious interest in Somerville, I'm not going to say it's the most exciting deal because I think there's other deals out there that might work better. But maybe this is what's going to happen. So yeah, this is what I think, Pulp. I think it's going to be exactly like the Embremo deal, but instead of getting an update every 3 or 4 years, 3 or 4 years, it feels a bit like 3 or 4 years, doesn't it? But instead of getting an update every 3 or 4 days, we're effectively getting zero. And I do see that a lot of YouTube channels, because I know a lot of people look into YouTube channels for information. I just see a lot of YouTube channels that have pictures of Matheus Fernandes every single day, and you have to be honest, there is no extra new information. There is nothing to talk about regarding Matheus Fernandes. There's no new information out there. So again, I've seen some interesting headlines, and when you read the story, there's literally nothing there. The only thing that I've seen over the last week is the same things that we've known for about a month. That people keep saying West Ham want this, Man United want to pay that, Real Madrid. There's nothing new there. There's nothing new in Matheus Fernandes. So it's really frustrating. Like Bob, it's really frustrating. And I feel bad, but there's a reason why I've done slightly fewer streams recently. There's just not lots of news out there. So I might try, I'll do a stream tonight, but I'm hoping to get a guest on because I don't want to do the same stream I did today. I need to do some different information. So they could pencil in Somerville and Baliba after Fernandez and say that's kind of the budget they have. Say you've been, yeah, I think you have to be a bit skeptical about Hall because I think Hall might be quite expensive as well. Yeah, no. To be honest, with the budget thing, I don't think anyone knows actually how much money Man United are going to spend. I think most of us think that we're going to buy a decent number of players, but I don't think anyone thinks we're going to spend over 100 million on a player. So Vitinha's not for sale. Anderson's going to be going to City for like over 100 million. And Diamonde is going to cost about 100 million euros anyway, isn't he? He's going to be about 85, 90 million pounds. And again, if he goes to Liverpool, you're going to have to start questioning like where Liverpool getting all this money from as well. That I get the feeling with this one is that when Man United were worse, um, Jay says, I don't see why we don't keep Rashford. We don't need a left wing and then go and get a left back. So this is probably, I think with this one, the difficulty I got is whatever news comes out from the club, I'm not going to believe exactly what they say. So if Ineos come out and say we're moving Marcus Rashford on, I won't really believe the reason for it. I think it's definitely to do with like his salary, but it would make a bit of sense though, wouldn't it? I don't see if you had a player. If you forget the drama regarding Marcus Rashford, if Marcus Rashford had never been a Man United player, we'd be all over him. Like we'd be getting this player in, but I think there's like a historical reasons regarding this one. So United, so United looks to have shifted away from buying just younger players to Yali. Do you think there's evidence of that yet, Yali? That with at the moment, based on the players actually coming into the club, we haven't really signed anyone young for a while, have we? Um, I mentioned Embuemo in a positive way, though, Mr. B. If you noticed that, for me, when we got Embuemo, we knew what Mbeumo was about. He did it year after year. Yeah, you'd have to speak to G Wolf about the transfer fee. I thought it was a good deal. G Wolf thought he was a £50 million player, but we have different views on that one as well. But no, to just kind of be like a general point as well. I think Man United need to also. I think the fans know it, don't they, as well? That if we don't bring in the caliber of players and the quality players we need, it's going to be another wasted season. This isn't going to be an ordinary season either. That when you're looking at the situation, we're moving from playing one game a week to playing Champions League football. So we need to make sure we get a squad that's suitable as well. Do you live near Old Trafford, United side I can't remember if you're like Manchester based or not, but yeah, if Man United don't kick on, then this idea of like winning the Premier League in what 2028 is going to seem like ridiculous, isn't it? So there's some deals like I don't mind Tonali going to Spurs, so I don't mind that at all. I don't if Tonali goes to Man City. Man City are obviously a lot better team, so it's a bit worse, I think. Maybe get a minibus and you can pick us up on the way as you're going up there. We can go there, film outside Old Trafford. Um, so let me jump into the poll as well. If Tonali joins Spurs, I'll say this: this will not make any sense at all. If Tonali wants to leave Newcastle to join the Spurs, what do you get from joining Spurs? Like, what do you get? When was the last time Spurs won the top flight title? Like 1961. You're literally never in a title race apart from the one year they bottled it. No, it would make no sense. Like, does Tonali really want to spend his prime years at that team? It would be very no, very bad. Lucky Singh says we're doing smartly, cleverly. I think Lucky also says that I think people are just disappointed that nothing's happening at the moment. You have to also take it from a Man United perspective that we had a good transfer window last year, but the last 5 years, fans remember very bad transfer windows. So until deals come through the doors, people are always going to be skeptical that Man United will miss out. Like we don't care if there's media put out there that says Man United are favourites or Man United talks. When we get terms agreed, all that kind of crap. That we want to see deals come through the door, don't we? Otherwise, nothing's happened, does it? And yeah, to be honest, actually, Tonali, there's not a lot of love for Tonali apart from Cake. It says if you don't spend now, we're finished outside the top four next season, and we'll be even further behind. And say we actually have to spend right now. Yeah, this is exactly the same as last year. That people were, we seem to be looking like we're going to start quickly, and then we were just, yeah, really, you know, really struggling to get deals done. So I said I was going to go into the poll, into the chat, and say what the poll was going to be. So at the moment, so let's find out what people are thinking. So should Manchester United sign Somerville? I put a price which I think was a no, kind of sensible in terms of like how much he should cost. Should United sign Somerville for 40 to 50 million pounds? So 71% of people say no, 29% of people say yes. So overall, not that not that enthusiastic for Somerville. So yeah, people are not very keen on that sort of deal. Maybe Somerville maybe it'd be a bit more favourable if he was a bit cheaper. That's all I say. Jay says our board will not spend what we need. I think you're right there. I think that this feels like a sort of transfer window. I've said this as well, but this sort of transfer window for me, I can't see a reason why it doesn't make sense to spend quite big because once you've got Champions League football, and if you can keep getting Champions League football, the money will just start flowing in. Like that's where the money is. Like United need to be near the top of the league to get this cash in. And if you get these players in, if Man United spent quite big this window, we can address a lot of the weaknesses in our squad. We can get our club into a good position, and then next year, getting the final piece of the jigsaw. Can you imagine if Man United finished, say, third next season as well, and we get maybe we do well in the Champions League, and everything progresses nicely. We can go to other clubs now and we say, look, we're in a title race. We can get the next generation of top quality players come in, and there shouldn't be this drama that every single year we should be able to get more players in, like that are better quality. And do you remember like a year ago when we were trying to get Delap, and Delap says, "Oh, I think I'll go to Chelsea because they got like we shouldn't even be considering, we shouldn't be considering that sort of situation, should we?" Yeah, I'm quite calm on Fernandez, but I did say Pop that I'm kind of 50-50. Half of me knows that there's nothing to worry about, and we just need to like relax. We just need to wait for the Fernandez deal to happen. But the other 50% of me is like, why hasn't this deal happened? Why hasn't this happened? So I've kind of got this annoyance where I'm trying to be calm because I know nothing's like this. It's probably just West Ham being unrealistic. We just need to wait. We just need to be calm, but we just need to make some signings, don't we? It is frustrating. So it feels like we need to make some signings. I know, like Bilal, you're right. Uh, how many teams are we going to watch that when do you know when we're looking at it and saying, oh, okay, so it's early in the window, it's early in the window, but no, Liverpool signed a player, like they signed a player last night, and we see other teams signing players. Van Heck has gone to Spurs now, hasn't he? So we're seeing other teams do deals, and we're seeing Man United at the moment. We need to wrap up this 35 million for Edison. That's kind of our deal. So, like, what is going on with Man United? Why are we taking so long? D Hex says, why wouldn't you simply buy Hall over Somerville? Exactly, D like exactly. Why not? Why not? It doesn't make sense, does it? Yeah, no, yeah. Rashford is it's like the running cost, isn't it? It's like having a car with like 1 mile to the gallon. Like Rashford just costs too much on a week by week basis. Then yeah, don't try and understand Barcelona's. Don't try and understand Barcelona's what do you call it? Um, structure. I think honestly, I think Bayern Munich could see Rashford as going to be a good option as well. So you'd rather keep Rashford than £50 million on Somerville. I think he'd be a better player than Somerville in the short term. But I think Ineos want to move Rashford on, and it feels like we're at the moment. It feels a bit like Man United's just trying to get a cheaper and cheaper playing staff, and for me, that's not necessarily conducive to building a squad capable of winning the league. So it feels a little bit like maybe our priority is on the wrong thing as well. Um, you'd happily sell Bruno Fernandes for 58 million. Like I've seen a comment, Kate. Like, Kate, where's that comment? Then you put something somewhere where you'd sell Mainu, or you'd sell Mainu for a certain fee. I can't remember how much it was. You'd sell him, but you'd be happy. You'd be happy to sell Bruno Fernandes for 58 million. I think that would be a massive mistake at the moment. Like, so, Pulp, my guess is going to be that it's not a Michael Carrick decision, Pulp. I think this is going to be an Ineos decision, and I think honestly, it's going to be that his salary is too much. That I don't know. Okay, what about a little plot twist? Do you remember the story that Marcus Rashford would reduce his contract to sign for Barcelona? What if Marcus Rashford came to the table and said, "Look, my salary is too high," reduces it in line with what we're looking at in terms of. So I'll address this in a minute, Torrin. What if Marcus Rashford decides to lower his salary demands and Man United go, actually, right, that works for us. And I don't know what Marcus Rashford's got left in his contract, but what if Marcus Rashford gets like an extra year and reduces his salary to a sensible level? Like obviously 300, 350, whatever it is exactly, is too much. Do you think with Bruno Fernandes? I think with Bruno Fernandes, I think he can play at that sort of level for the next 5 years. So when you're saying Bruno Fernandes it's not going to get better, but I don't think he's going to get worse. So I think that for Bruno Fernandes, like if you take 58 million for him, I think Bruno Fernandes can play at the same level for another few years. So RK said, I'm glad Rashford scored as we can charge a decent fee for him. So problem is Rashford ego in the way of him leaving. So yeah, maybe this one's going to be. I suppose with this one, it's going to be a situation where with Rashford that it depends who's prepared to pay that sort of salary. But we'll have to see. We go on this one. Andy says no. I keep saying this, Andy, as well. I know people are entitled to different views, different opinions, but I don't think Ineos are going to backtrack on Marcus Rashford because it's part of like their way of changing the squad. And it might be that part of it's to do with like his attitude, part of it's to do with the salary. We'll probably never know the full truth of this one, but I would just be genuinely surprised that if Marcus Rashford plays for Man United again, it just feels a bit like an unlikely situation as well. No, I think also, do you remember Alex Ferguson moving on players? And I think it's once a player's like personal situation, or once a player becomes a distraction from the team. Because at the moment, if you're thinking about Manchester United, there seems to be quite a coherent team, and it seems that most things at Man United now seem to be everyone seems to be like quite happy with the situation. The players seem to have a good team spirit. Everything seems to be ticking along quite nicely. And I'm not saying it like Rashford wouldn't intentionally try and disrupt this, but I think that the noise and the media crap around Rashford might be a problem. That's what I'll be thinking. When's the next calling show? I'm not sure, Bilal. I'm not sure. It's been a bit tricky because there's so much World Cup stuff. I don't know whether I should just do Man United stuff instead of some of the World Cup matches if they're not bigger teams. But I think the World Cup will hopefully settle down a little bit. Um, I'll definitely do one on Sunday, and it's like Thursday today, so there'll definitely be one on Sunday. I'm not sure whether there'll be one midweek or whether it'll just clash with other stuff we're doing. But there might be a show tonight where I get guests on, so maybe I can get people on at some point during that show. Possibly, I just need to hear back from people about who's available as guests. But there's should be a Man United stream tonight about 8 p.m. ish. I think I don't know what is there any match. What match is on tonight? The World Cup's actually got so big; it's genuinely impossible to track what games are going on. It's like starting to become. I like World Cup football. It just feels like there's too much of it. So tonight there's going to be. So we've got Czech Republic, South Africa at 5 seems, and then we got Switzerland versus Bosnia, and then we got Canada versus Qatar. Okay, obviously I won't be covering the Canada versus Qatar. I don't think there's much point in covering Switzerland versus Bosnia, so I'm going to be doing Man United content instead of the World Cup matches tonight. I think that's going to be probably more interesting for myself and other people. But with some of these matches, there's too many matches to watch now, so I've kind of hit the wall. I said I'm a World Cup fan, but I've kind of hit the wall. There's literally too much for me to watch at the moment. But I think what maybe I'll do a stream tonight and get some guests on. But if people want to come on, I might be able to get people on as well. Rubbish games. Yeah, these are the games where there was a bit of hype and excitement for the World Cup, but now it's just like there's just way too many things as well. Yeah, no, exactly, RK, exactly. I'm calling them tactical breaks now because we know they're advertising breaks as well. Um, which one's it? Which point is this, Rob? Is it just too much World Cup? Like I've kind of hit the wall because I was excited for the World Cup to start, and then I've watched France, and I like watching that game. I've enjoyed like the England match last night, and now it just feels a bit like there's just that. I watched highlights this morning, and even watching 8 minute videos, I still spent like about 45 minutes going through like a few different videos watching them. There's just like so much content at the moment. So I think tonight's going to be Man United based, and yeah. So one thing I'll say this one, I saw a comment from Philip Toon Tactics TV about this, and he said that Liverpool just offered more money, higher salary. So I think that Newcastle have got a budget they're working to, and that's why we're not going to see Marcus Rashford at Newcastle. Like Newcastle have got a certain wage structure, and I think Liverpool just pay more. Like Liverpool just a bigger team than Newcastle, and again, it's like the food chain, isn't it? That Newcastle just dropping down the food chain, and Liverpool, Manchester United, like if players are linked to Newcastle, other bigger teams can step in. But Liverpool got more financial power, more pull than Newcastle. I don't think Newcastle can do much more than try and get these players in, and then bigger teams. Yeah, I've watched I've watched all the games in terms of highlights, but there's just too much. There's too much live football now. It's just so relentless, isn't it? If anyone's got like a final question, massive thanks to Bilal for the games on Sunday. When are the games on Sunday? Because I can be flexible with a calling show, but I'll see what games are on. I need to actually check. I did say there will be a calling show on Sunday without actually checking what date that is. So we're looking at let's have a look Sunday. So Sunday, what have we got on Sunday? Spain versus Saudi Arabia at 5 o'clock. Belgium versus Iran. Yes, that's on Sunday as well. Uruguay versus Cape Verde. Um, Surely Uruguay versus Cape Verde. Surely Agate can look okay in that match. Get some money for him Sunday. I don't know. Maybe I won't do a calling show then. But I was thinking like Belgium versus Iran. I probably won't be watching. But I don't know. I might do a poll on if you get in the community page. Maybe I'll do a poll. It's kind of difficult to decide what to do at the moment because there's just like ridiculously a ridiculous amount of games on. Martinez getting some stick. I don't know. Was he manager of Belgium when Wales beat Belgium? Remember that one? Ronaldo might be a bit older. Ronaldo might be a bit older. Maybe like Portugal probably need to move past Ronaldo. That's probably the problem here, isn't it? There's literally too much World Cup, isn't there? Like, I've said this. I'm a really big fan. I remember a lot of content creators. And a few years ago, we are talking about international football, and I said I'm a big fan of the World Cup. There was loads of content creators I knew that didn't give a shit about the World Cup. But as soon as the World Cup started, they were all doing watch-alongs. So I was like, okay, I thought you guys didn't even like this tournament. So I won't mention who they are because you guys know them. There's a few that are quite familiar. But it was quite funny that people are just doing. I'm not going to stream content I'm not interested in because for me, it's a waste of my time and it's a waste of your time if I'm just doing stuff for the sake of doing stuff. So I'm not going to be doing watch longs for matches that I don't think it's worth covering. But I will be probably I'll be watching highlights for these matches. But I want to be focusing on like new stuff and the big matches, and that's going to be I think a bit better as well. How did Ragnick get the Austria job? Honestly, no idea, no idea. For me, though, I think the difference between Messi and Ronaldo is Ronaldo is a physical player. He's like was a lot of his game was based on pace, wasn't it, and power. And I think Messi's always been like Messi is like a bit like George Best and a bit like Modric, where well, if you're able to run with the ball like Messi is, you just don't lose that, do you? So you just like you lose a bit of pace maybe, but Messi it's a bit like Ryan Giggs. Messi's just balanced. It's like balance and technique, and Messi's not going to lose that, is he? So with Ronaldo, you're going to lose a bit of pace, you're going to lose a bit of power, and it's affected his game more than Messi. And he's a bit older than this one as well. You watched like the 5 a.m. kickoff. You know, do you stay up to 4 in the morning to watch Scotland beat Haiti? There's some games that are kicking off at 5 a.m. in the UK. There's no way I can watch these games and live like a normal life. Yeah, Messi always played in overpowered teams. To be fair, um, yeah, I did see this, and I saw people posting it on social media, and I think Messi, as along with there was like about three other players as well I've seen that have done like tackles with studs on legs or like between like the knee and the ankle. I've seen like about three instances where it's not been given, and it's not just going to be. Yeah, you said you watched most of them. Half the games, like I'm just thinking, like there was a game last night that must have been like a 3 a.m. kickoff, like, and it's two teams that are going to be like low down interest level as well. Was this the game? Yeah, like Jordan, like there's a few teams actually, like Jordan, Panama, Uzbekistan. They're putting in like good performances for most of the matches. They're always going to be like fatigued towards the end, but no, it's true. Now, people watching, there should be a live stream tonight, 8 p.m. I did say there's going to be. He thought Zidane was old in the World Cup. He was 34 was considered old though, Tyrone. If you consider that he won the World Cup in 1998 when he was in his prime, like 1998 would have been like a 26-year-old. I think with Zidane had like didn't Zidane start losing his hair when he was about 20? So he's always looked older than he was. It's a bit like when I'll say this, Tyrone. When we saw who was it when Chelsea signed Iron Robin, and I first saw Robin, I thought Robin was like about 32. And when I found out Robin was about 21, 22, I was like, bloody hell. So yeah, some players just look older, don't they? So I think Zidane just looked older in 1998 just because of his hair, probably. Not a lot of love for Messi in the chat. I get the feeling that Cristiano Ronaldo is not going to retire until Messi retires. It feels a little bit like I think for Messi, I think it means more to Ronaldo than it does to Messi, but I could be wrong. It could be both ways. It makes me fun. It makes me laugh actually. Where I think Messi and Ronaldo, they're probably in this competition. They'll never admit it. I think unfortunately for Ronaldo, Messi's got a World Cup, more Ballon d'Ors. I don't see Ronaldo doing that. I think um, I think Cristiano Ronaldo is just going to be what's the word? I think he's just going to try and get 1,000 goals. That's what I'm thinking. So I'll just go for a couple of comments because my voice is starting to go. Big up to you, Sky. Good to see you in the chat. Miles always looked old. Wayne Rooney looked about 10 years older for his whole career, didn't he? He still looks like 10 years older than he is as well. Do I think Amram will do well at Milan? I think if Amram wants to do well at Milan, I think he definitely needs to buy a Garte. I think that's essential business, and I think that maybe like who is it that wanted Anana? That's probably Eric Ten Hag. I'm just trying to think. Like Ruben Amorim, I think he definitely needs to build around Agate and maybe get the lit off our hands as well. And maybe Malacia could go there. I don't know actually where he's gone. I don't know actually. Honestly, I have no idea. Absolutely no idea. I think the Italian league is obviously not the same standard as the Premier League, but it's difficult, isn't it? I think with the Italian league, there's loads of evenly matched teams. So AC Milan, Juve, you've got Napoli, Como, got decent money. I don't know. Honestly, okay, I have no idea. I don't know what would be considered good at AC Milan to even so. I don't know. I would say that I'd imagine it would go okay. I think AC Milan are obviously like got a decent amount of money for an Italian team, so I don't honestly don't know. But maybe I'll have a look at it, okay, and I can give you a better answer when I see what you say what AC Milan did last year. So I've no idea. So players that look old, Ravanelli. Yeah, Ravanelli did actually, didn't he? I just thought Ian Robin because I didn't know much about Ian Robin before he signed. I just thought he was like 10 years older than he was, and just thought, where's this guy been? Um, yeah, he might do okay. He might do okay. I don't know. To be honest, wherever he goes, this might be unique to myself, and maybe other people care more. But when Ronaldo left Man United, I didn't really care what he did at Real Madrid. And when other players leave Man United, I don't really care what they do. When ex-managers leave Man United, I don't really care what they do. Like it can't go much worse than it did the first season at Man United, can it? So I think AC Milan are probably a more organised team. So we'll have to see what happens. We've got that one as well. But it seems like just like Danny B, what comments that about? It does seem to be interestingly. I'm laughing because it's quite funny how passionate fans are, but it seems to be that today that Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi are both getting it in the comments. So should we just say, I don't know, any thoughts on not Haaland? Like this is the last question, okay? Just type in one name. Who's going to get the Golden Boot in the World Cup? Who do you think is going to score the most goals? It's obviously got to be from a team that gets a decent amount of way through the World Cup. But just give me one name. Who you think is going to score the most goals in the World Cup? I've got kind of my views, and it's obviously linked to a team I think is going to do very well. But let me know your thoughts of who's going to be the top goal scorer in the Premier League. So not Premier League in the World Cup. So Mbappe for Danny B. United die. Ronaldo, I think Ronaldo will be lucky to get as many shots on target as Mbappe goals, won't he? Kane or Mbappe for Pulp. Mbappe for Bilal. Mbappe. I think Mbappe looked up for it, didn't he? That second goal. I know the goalkeeper probably could have done more, but I get the feeling from my kind of view is that I think Mbappe might France might be the team to stop this season. And I think this World Cup, France might be the winners. They looked incredibly good, and you got Elise playing really well. I don't know. They got a few quality players in there. Tuamande, Good. So with Elise, probably Mbappe. Yeah, Elise's pass for the one that Mbappe missed, where he didn't manage to take the ball with him, was top quality, wasn't it? Isak and Yokos get money between them. Best strike force in the World Cup, says RK. They did look actually good, didn't they? Like they did get a decent amount of goals. I think once you get to top quality opposition, though, I'm wondering whether Yokres will get as many chances as well. And Portugal's got Uzbekistan next, so should be. I think no one's mentioned Messi as well. Messi's already got a hat trick, and he looked in pretty good form as well. So yeah, maybe we'll readdress this situation. So a lot of love for Mbappe in the chat. I mean, Mbappe is going to get a lot of goals, isn't he? Like Senegal's actually a decent team. I mean, what we might see is no one said Haaland, which I'm interested by. I think we're going to see Haaland versus Mbappe at some point. That's going to be one of the best games of of the group stage, and that's one that we'll probably try and cover if we can. But that'll be a good one. But thanks everybody for watching. We should be live tonight, 8 p.m. Guests, etc. Hopefully, everything's we can sort that out. And there may be opportunity for people to come on. But again, if you're in the Discord, there's social links posted there as well. If you follow the social links, there is a link to the TikTok account as well. At the moment, only about 63 or 4 followers on the TikTok account, but it is going to grow quite rapidly in the transfer window. I think it's up like 10 in the last few days. So please follow that if you can and get involved in the Discord as well if you want to be kept up to date with other things. And so, guys, have a great rest of your day. The sun's like come out now, so we will be doing a stream tonight, 8:30 ish time. Until then, guys, have a great rest of your day.